In Only Murders in the Building Season 4, fan theories are running wild as we try to piece together the increasingly suspicious events at the Arconia. With each episode, new clues surface, raising more questions about returning and new characters, hidden subplots, and mysterious details that may tie into the larger mystery. A quick episode recap.
Hey, don't sweat it. Me being dead is the least of your problemos. Also, get your hands off my boobs.
The episode begins with a flashback of Saz on the set of Brazos, where she and Charles first met. In the present, Charles is struggling to cope with her death, refusing to wash her ashes off his hands, and begins seeing Saz's ghost. Meanwhile, Mabel and Oliver recreate the murder scene, trying to figure out where the bullet came from. They suspect 4 apartments but aren't sure which one, so Charles suggests using luminol to find where Saz's body was lying. Mabel and Oliver visit the apartments, starting with Stink Eye Joe's, where they find nothing suspicious. At the Sauce family's apartment, things get strange when they notice the family's odd behavior, including stabbing a piece of ham hanging from their shower. They also learn about a resident named Dudenoff, whose name appeared in one of Saz's notes. Sneaking into Dudenoff's apartment, they find it dusty and abandoned, with a footprint by the window, indicating someone had opened it. While this is happening, Charles has a disturbing encounter with Jan, the Season 1 killer, who escaped from prison. She reveals that Saz called her recently, sounding upset. They share memories of Saz, but Jan disappears just as Mabel and Oliver return, and Charles can't prove she was really there. The trio later uses luminol to find where Saz had fallen and discover she wrote "tap in" her blood, referencing her role as Charles's stunt double on Brazos. By the way, notice how there is no sign of the body being dragged, and that the blood perfectly outlines her body? Hold that thought for later on in the video. Realizing the bullet was meant for him, Charles concludes that they aren't investigating Saz's murder anymore. They're investigating his.
I'd like to report a murder.
Shut the fuck up.
All the suspects for who killed Saz in Only Murders in the Building. Starting off with Vince Fish, aka Stink Eye Joe, the first resident of the West Tower, dubbed Westies, who Mabel and Oliver meet, is named Vince Fish. Charles originally dubs Vince Stink Eye Joe, with the Westie revealing his eye patches and strange eye twitches are a result of pink eye. Vince's initial description as hostile does not quite match his strange, over-the-top, albeit somewhat friendly demeanor, yet he could prove to be the murderer of Saz. Vince talks about his apartment's vantage points, noting his ability to see into Charles's apartment.
Alvin, there's a friend's place. What's up with him and his lonely omelets? And why is he always staring?
Inez, Alfonso, and Anna, aka the Sauce family. Another group of Westies that Charles identifies is the Sauce family, a group of 3 who often stare through Charles's windows while making various sauces. Later, Mabel and Oliver enter the apartment to discover the Sauce family are named Inez and Alfonso, who have a daughter named Anna. Like Vince, the Sauce family has some strange traditions, with the parents having a connection to Charles that could incriminate Alfonso. Inez mentions she was obsessed with Brazos and that Charles is her hall pass, with Alfonso clearly not happy about his wife's lust for another man. But do you notice how they don't have a last name? So, Pink Eye Vince is given a last name, Fish, but when he introduces Oliver and Mabel to the family next door, he never says, "These are the ex." He just says, "Here's Anna, here's Inez, here's Alfonso." When referring to them as a group, he just calls them the neighbors. Later on, the suspect board, it's made clear that our trio hadn't yet learned their last name. In the end credits, no surname info there either. Coincidence? It's an interesting omission because if there's one thing Only Murders is good at, it's coming up with full, distinctive names. Loretta Durkin, Ben Glenroy, Bunny Folger, Vince Fish, and so on. Why the apparent laziness with these 3? Notice all the killers' names thus far have been related to the murders. Season's 1 killer, Jan Bellows, linked with fireplaces which he tried to use to gas the building in the finale. Season's 2 killer, Becky Butler, the butler did it, classic trope. Season's 3 killer, Donna and Cliff, Bella, Donna, poisoning and pushed off a cliff, another sort of trope that links to how Ben was poisoned and pushed down the elevator shaft. Are the writers not telling us the Sauce family's last name for a reason? Or maybe, because in Season 4, Saz is burnt and turned to cinders. Could Cinda Canning be involved? Christmas All the Time Guy. The final Westie outlined by Charles is dubbed the Christmas All the Time Guy, a man who never takes down his Christmas decorations. This character was not focused on. While little has been revealed about potential motives for Christmas All the Time Guy killing Charles, or in this case, Saz, future episodes of the show will likely add him to the list of suspects. Bev Mellon. Another suspect that admittedly has little in the way of evidence incriminating her is Bev Mellon. Bev is the producer of the movie adaptation of Charles, Mabel, and Oliver's podcast and, thus far, has next to no reason to want to see Charles dead. Nevertheless, theories have been raised about Bev's potential involvement in Saz's murder, which could be linked to the betterment of her Hollywood career. Because doesn't this seem a little too perfect? This season is playing out a little too well, as if there is some behind-the-scenes movie magic moving the plot along. Every time there is a dull moment, one of the three gets a text that advances the scene, or someone barges in at just the right time. So far, we've noticed this mostly with Howard, both coming to introduce Gravy and texting about Gravy when the others should be distracted by the noise in Saz's apartment, and the ominous text ending the episode immediately after the crew finds Saz's bones. It's feeling a little like Truman Show. This timing, paired with some of the POV shots, leads us to believe that the movie could be about this murder. Perhaps Bev Mellon is orchestrating a murder and watching as it's solved in real time. No one seemed to review the life rights all that quickly after all. The movie is set to premiere at Christmas, but they haven't started filming? Or have they? The Dudenoff apartment and oh hell. Saz clearly knew something was afoot and began investigating the Westies of the Arconia, uncovering more clues in the process. One significant piece of evidence is a note that reads Dudenoff, accompanied by a sticky note attached that has the number 773440 written on it. Turns out that those numbers are the passcode to enter into Dudenoff's apartment. Another interesting note, someone banged on the door, and it sounded as if they were running away from someone and desperate to get in. It wasn't a normal knock. It wasn't a bang 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 like someone demanding to have the door opened. It sounded like someone who was in a panic. And then there is the sound of a second person punching in the key code. If the code had been incorrect, there is just an error type sound and not worrying. But that person couldn't enter because the deadbolt was in place. What do you think about these clues and theories? Do you have your own speculations? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one.
Saz can't end up on a wipe. Well, you could just leave them like that. Then you'd have permanent Saz hands.